All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Palm Springs Unified School District regular meeting of the Board of Education. Today is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. I will now call the meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Irvin.
Present.
Board Member Cornett. Here. Board Clerk Espericueta.
Here.
Board President Girardi.
Here.
And we have Board Member Jarrell absent this afternoon.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our board member, Charlie Irvin.
Put your hands on your hearts. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Next will be a reading of our mission statement by Board Member Karen Cornett.
Thank you. All members of the Palm Springs Unified School District are united in our commitment to equity. We create deep, meaningful learning opportunities, build professionalism, and engage parents and community to ensure success for all students. All students graduate with the skills, capacities, and confidence needed to succeed in a rapidly changing world.
Thank you very much, Karen. Next item, report of closed session items. Clerk Espericueta, are there any closed session items to report this evening?
President Girardi, there are no closed session items to report.
Thank you. Item 7 is approval of the agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or any modifications to?
Move for approval.
I got a modification.
Well, that's under the consent, I
Okay.
believe? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Charlie. That is item 14F.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
It was just a date that was incorrect on my comments for the minutes.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So, I guess it's for the minutes?
You want to make a revision to the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any changes to the agenda?
It says January the, no, not to the agenda, I'm sorry, yes.
Karen, did you have a change to the
I
agenda?
did it. I'm trying to find it. It's the hearing, it's the pulling of the
14D.
14D for a later time.
All right, so you want to pull 14D to another board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? 14F, I think, Charlie. 14F.
14F,
Would you like to pull that?
I would like to pull that item.
Okay. We can discuss it at another meeting?
Yes, that's correct.
Sure. All right, so can we get approval of the agenda with items 14D and 14F pulled? Can I get a motion? I'm sorry.
I made a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. Next up is special recognitions. So you guys want to join me down below and we'll do some special recognitions? Oh, do we have video first? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Celine Ahumada Tirado. I am the Director of Purchasing, Warehouse, and Reaper Graphics, and I nominated Davina Garcia as our Employee of the Month. Davina has been a wonderful person to work with. She collaborates well with all three departments. Even though she's been here for a short while, she has actually taken up a lot of responsibilities. We see her as an asset. Anytime that we need an extra pair of hands, we don't have to ask. She's always there, ready to learn, eager to learn all sorts of new things, whether it be in purchasing or warehouse or repro. I know that there are a lot of projects that we have in the works that would not be possible without her help. And her eagerness and her experience and just her bright personality and helpful nature have been a breath of fresh air here with all the guys in the warehouse and all the girls over in purchasing.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Phelps, and I am the Director of Nutrition Services. And tonight I wanted to congratulate our Classified Employee of the Month, Sonwa Meza. She is an FS3 for our department, and she's absolutely amazing. She is a roving position where she goes into various school sites, helps to troubleshoot in great absences, but she's just absolutely amazing and is so involved with the kids. She likes to put out her displays of her fresh fruits and vegetables, encourages the kids to come in. She's absolutely amazing. She comes from a hotel catering background. Her specialty is bakery, and just making her presence of all of her items are just outstanding, and it's very inviting. It just makes you want to jump in and eat. So thank you so much, Sonwa, for being such a great employee and being so collaborative, not only with other nutrition services staff, but also the site administration. So congratulations. Happy Employee of the Month, Sonwa.
Thank you. You want to Davina? Yeah. Okay. Hello? Would Davina Garcia join us down here, please?
Congratulations. Thank you very much. I'm going to read some nice things about you. I'm going to turn around and I know this is embarrassing. Ms. Garcia is a crucial member of our team. She strives to learn aspects of every department so that she can provide the best support to our teachers and staff. Her genuine desire to help our schools, departments, and students receive the materials they need when they need it is admirable. In addition to her daily duties, Ms. Garcia often volunteers to shadow our purchasing staff and provide support with larger projects. Her warm and supportive demeanor fosters a collective environment within our departments. We are very grateful for Mrs. Garcia's initiative and the support she provides for our team. Davina Garcia, on behalf of the students and the staff of Palm Springs Unified School District, members of the governing board and administration, it is a pleasure to present you with this plaque with this plaque of recognition as Classified Employee of the Month for June 2023. Is there anyone in the audience you'd like to recognize?
I would love to recognize my director, Celine. She's been an inspiration to me, and because of her, I love to, I didn't have any idea about the purchasing world, and now I want to be just like her. So thank you so much, and also my husband and son.
Congratulations.
Sonwa Meza, please.
Congratulations. Sanwa. Okay. Sanwa joined nutritional service in October 2018 and was promoted to Robin Food Services Assistant 3 in May 2022. Sanwa is punctual, dependable, neat, and organized. His dedication to food presentation for our students is unparalleled. Someone has taken on the responsibility at two sites to help with the absence at a site lead. At both schools, she remained positive and carried a pleasant disposition that is noticed and appreciated by others. In the central kitchen, his work had been described as amazing. She always goes above and beyond the call of duty. It is for this reason we are nominating someone as employee at the month. So, in behalf of the student and staff at Palm Springs Unified School District, member and the governing board and administration, it is a pleasure to present you with this plaque at recognition as classified employees at the month for June 2023. Congratulations. Is there anything that you want to share with? Oh, you say you the phone. I can hold. Oh, you got it.
I am glad for receiving this Employee of the Month award. I cannot forget the support that has been offered by my colleagues and supervisors. I am so lucky to be part of a nutrition team at Palm Springs Unified School District. Thank you for Sarah, Adam, and Dana for making each day of working something we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep the one with you. Thank you.
Charlie, you want to read this golden apple? You wanna read it? Okay. Now we get to do something we haven't done quite in a while, is give out a golden apple award with Sydney, pardon? Shiny apple, sorry. We were talking about hockey earlier, and Sydney Powell, would you please join us, please?
Cindy Williams.
Williams, I'm sorry. I'm really with it today. Cindy Williams.
Not Powell, that's for sure. Okay. I'm going to give you this, I don't drop it. For your shiny apple. I'm going to say some nice things about you. The Foundation for the Palm Springs Unified School District would like to extend its appreciation and gratitude to Cindy Williams for her unwavering support of Palm Springs Unified School District students through countless hours of volunteering throughout the years. Sydney served many hours as a founding team lead in the Foundation and District SMART program, Student Mentor Resource Training, in which volunteer community mentors are paired with students to help them through the college application and financial aid process. She is one of the influential women who helped build SMART program from the ground up. Beginning in 2015, Sydney helped launch the first cohorts of participating SMART students at both Desert Hot Springs High School and Mount San Jacinto High School. This program later expanded to Ranch Mirage High School and Palm Springs High School. The project has a 100% college acceptance rate for those students who participate in the SMART program. 95% of those students were accepted to a four-year college. We got to clap for that one. Sydney has been a wonderful liaison between the school's administration and the foundation office. She's been an excellent ambassador for the district as a whole. Perhaps most important, all the energy, wisdom, and commitment to our kids that Sydney has put into this remarkable program has been done on a 100% volunteer basis. We are forever grateful for her time and dedication to Palm Springs Unified students. Sydney Williams, on behalf of the students and the staff of Palm Springs Unified School District, members of the Board of Education and Administration, it's a pleasure to present you with this plaque, the shiny apple. Is there anyone in the audience you'd like to recognize?
Well, there's a whole host of people I'd like to recognize. Certainly Ellen Goodman for starting the program and for the foundation for its support, and Ellen Donaldson, who's been my co-lead at Desert Hot Springs High School, and to all the students who've been just fabulous. We had 16 students this year, and all of them are going to four-year universities. So it's really thrilling. And to meet them as juniors and to see the change that happens as they grow and develop and decide where they're going and what their goals are, and just support them along the way. It's just thrilling. Thank you.
You've had two children graduate.
Yes. Our kids went to Palm Springs Unified and went on to higher education as well. So education is in our family.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Okay, that takes us to item 9, presentation portion of our meeting. 9A is a foundation for Palm Springs Unified School District quarterly update. Dr. Kovats is going to introduce Ellen Goodman, our foundation director.
Well, Ellen Goodman is here. We're so pleased to have the opportunity for her to share her quarterly update for the foundation.
Aha, thank you, Monica, appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. So hi, everyone, I'm Ellen. Thank you so much for having us up here today, or myself. I appreciate it. And thank you for the acknowledgement for Sydney and our SMART, the mentor program. I appreciate that as well. So I usually, when I say like a quarterly update, that is something that we present every quarter. And every month we have a foundation subcommittee. It's a school board's foundation subcommittee meeting. And so that comprises of 2 school board members, Dr. Sweezy, Dr. Kovacs, myself, and 2 of the members from the foundation board. And last month in that meeting, what we discussed was what this particular presentation might focus on. We always like to get an idea of what we would like to put forward. So it is an expanded presentation considering we are at the end of our fiscal year and not just a quarterly update. So I just wanted to share that. I hope I can do this correctly. Let's see. It's different than mine. I always start a presentation. This is for your reading pleasure. It's the statement of purpose. It's really why the foundation exists. And we'll just get right to the nums and figs, as our board chairman likes to say. So here's what we have. This is year to date. Our year to date revenues are $3,023,226. And we broke down our donations. We have 168 returning donors, 138 new donors, 306 total donors, and 458 total donations. The total fundraising goal for the 22-23 school year was $780,000. So what we did below that is we took out the estate gift that we received, which was $2 million in December, and the foundation raised $1,023,226, which is 31% over goal. Thank you. And I just thought it would be really nice just to do a bird's eye view of what we have done in the 10 years that our team has been working together. And I will say that 2 of these years were COVID years. And the fundraising shifted dramatically. Some might remember it was Family Essentials. And we did a huge campaign for families that were able to get gift cards and other items to be able to sustain their household during that COVID shutdown. And there were also some classroom items, whiteboards and markers, and some other school supplies, desks and lamps for homes. But these were 3 really very significant projects that we've been working on. $407,683 has been distributed to classrooms. The robotics, drones, and 3D printers over the last 5 years. Again, COVID was in there for 2 years, so we did not raise robotic and drone or 3D printer money. So it's really 3 years, $324,757. And then scholarships over the last 5 years came in very close to $700,000. This particular slide is all of the projects that the foundation has been doing and will continue to do next year. And we are coming up on the completion. Our 23-24 school year will be the completion of a 3-year plan. And so that will continue to be sustained, and we're already looking ahead for what the next 3 years would look like. So the items on the left-hand side of the slide are the projects and the dates in which they take place. So our classroom grant applications open August 1st. It's for any program in the district. That could be early childhood, it could be student services, it could also be principals for site opportunities for funding and classrooms. And then it closes in September. In September, those items, those grants are awarded, But I will say all year long, we do distribute classroom grant money. Money comes in that is not designated or ear tagged. It might come in as where the need is the greatest, $100, $250, $50. That goes into a classroom grant bucket. All the money gets designated. And then we distribute that money throughout the year. And again, that is through application and request. Again, this year we will continue with the Amazon Donor Chooses program. We were selected last year. 3 school districts in Southern California were selected: Bakersfield, San Bernardino, and Palm Springs Unified. That will launch in September. It is a one-time, the minute the funds run out, it's done. And so teachers will be informed the early part of September, and as soon as that portal opens up for the applications, they'll be informed, and our teachers will be able to apply and compete for that. In October, we will host the One Night Out Bollywood event. That is on the heels of last year's success with One Night Out Havana. Jerry Argovitz Sports Institute, or the Jazzy program, runs October through May. Musical Theater University, we have created a very, very strong partnership this last year with MTU. We yesterday just had our very first fundraising committee meeting with community members and parents of the kids. And we are looking at producing a program book. So we can't use the word playbill. That is a copyrighted name. We can't use that. And instead of just the playbill just having Act 1 and Act 2 and the 2 or 3 pages that it has, we are looking to sell ads to generate some revenue around that and increase the awareness of MTU in our community so that we can actually have a sold out theater. The essay contest will continue. It'll kick off in September. In end of August and beginning of September, we've requested that we speak at the department meetings for 7th grade English so that we can actually get in person with the individuals who would be executing it. We had 13 teachers participate this year, 189 essays, compared to last year, 120 essays. And every school, every middle school has a first and a second place winner. First place is $500, second place is $250, and each teacher that participates, that wins, gets a $250 classroom grant. And I actually stand corrected. Every teacher that participates gets a $250 classroom grant. TED Ed is brand new. The foundation applied for a license to use the brand TED Ed or TED Student. We did a very small beta test at Nellie Kaufman Middle School. We're calling it like This Is Me. It kicks off October to May. Here's what we learned in those 5 weeks. And they were 2 days a week, and they were 10 sessions. And I'm just going to read just a few things if you don't mind. There was a pre-survey and a post-survey with the students that participated. One of the questions on the survey was, number 5, I am comfortable talking about things I believe in. The day they started, they rated a 2.5. This is out of 5. And when it completed, they rated themselves at a 4.7. That was our average. Another one, I can improve my ability to communicate with others effectively. They started the project at 3.8, and they completed it at a 5 point. So we really saw some really nice increases. I consider myself a confident person. When they started, they rated themselves a 3. When they completed, it was a 4.2. Another question, I want to get all I can from my education. 3.7 is where they started, and they ended with a 4.5. I like myself. They started with a 4.0 and they ended with a 5. And then I did promise I would just read this one little quote. There were opportunities for the students just to write little comments. And one of the questions was, what suggestions do you have to improve this experience for future students? And one student said, to make sure you do your homework and don't be scared of your past. So it was very exciting, very fun, and we're looking forward to continuing that. And this is being run by community members. And so where the foundation is supporting the project, community members, and I think the success is we have a Broadway director and a clinical therapist who's running the program. So there's lots of expression and lots of depth. We'll continue on. Shoes for Students, we started that last year. This year it ran February. This year it actually started a little later than we would have liked. It started in April. And over the last few weeks of the campaign running, so far $42,000 has been raised. Our goal was $75,000, so we have reached out to Converse. We told them we think that we've exhausted this campaign for this school year. We asked them if they would consider a more generous discount than last year, and would they do the 2,500 pairs tennis shoes for $50,000. And we told them we believed we could find an additional $9,000 to get to 50. So I made that ask on Friday. Today is Tuesday. I have not heard back yet, but I anticipate we will hear back. We will begin the campaign earlier next year. Like I said, I think we have exhausted it, and some of that is donor fatigue and the time of the year. And it is a back-to-school campaign where shoes will be distributed back to school through student services. Wellness centers and school gardens. We are learning a lot about wellness centers, and I'll share the next couple of slides will actually all be photos. So we are in the process of hammering out as many wellness centers as we possibly can this time of the year. There are 3 in the queue. One is almost complete, Cielo Vista Charter. Our next school that we will go to from there is Bubbling Wells Elementary. Then we will go to, no, the next school is Rancho Mirage High School. Then we go to Bubbling Wells Elementary, and we are in conversations with Palm Springs High School. And then we also know Two Bunch Palm needs to be in that queue as well. Some of the things that we are learning, and on the right-hand side, under multi-year projections, you'll see sustainability of wellness centers at $1 million. And so we might say, $1 million to sustain a wellness center. And you know this, it's unbelievable how things get worn out so fast. So that's number one, is that things need to be sustained and might need to be replaced, and they might need to be updated. The other thing that we're learning is the need for, I say the word need, but we would love to have it. I'm sure our funders would. I mean, we're raising $675,000. We would really like to see data collection that's consistent across the board. Right now, the wellness centers do look somewhat similar and different depending on the school site. But what we're seeing is everyone has different processes. Everyone is collecting data differently, if they're even collecting the data. And what we're trying to do, and we're working with student services, there is an amazing software, like amazing. I took a tutorial, I went through it, that can pick up all of these indicators from our students in addition to the questions that the students might answer. I think this is also connected with some telehealth as far as the program. And in addition to being able to capture this data and have it be consistent where everyone's doing the same thing and it's on board, it also provides information where student services and risk management, where they could actually look at increasing their billing opportunities for reimbursements around services. So there's some money left on the table that we think we might be able to capture through this. So inside that million, and this is just broad strokes, the foundation board and Dr. Sweezy and Dr. Kovacs working together will come up with what we think would be the best products inside that $1 million. Advanced technologies, that is a drone expansion. Drones are expanding into elementary schools, and there are a few additional schools that are going to pick up the art of drones. So we're on point to run that August through May with that fundraising campaign. The Regalios Society, a few of you were at a luncheon where we kicked off a major donor society or a major donor project where we can acknowledge individuals, where there's a place for major donors to feel like they fit into the school district's community. And in addition to existing, it's also a way to capture new contributors. Our Student Mentor Resource Training is kicking off in January 2024. It's an 18-month program, and we will be expanding to Palm Springs High School this year. And then scholarship season is May to June. And the foundation does not actively raise money for scholarships. The foundation attracts, I'll use the word attracts, scholarship dollars. And as you saw on the slide before, close to $700,000 has been distributed to universities for our kids. The multi-year projection, I just mentioned the sustainability of the wellness centers for $1 million. We did have a very short conversation in one of our 2-on-1s around creating a project that would be the sustainability of music programs. And we positioned that at $500,000 as a fundraising goal. And these are some of the areas: instruments, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, band instruments for middle school, master classes, and field trips. Those are a variety of things. Again, these are projections, and we have yet to dig deep into any kind of finalization. But when we come back together again, you'll have that information. The TED Ed student, this is me, is very ambitious. There's just this feeling that other schools will want to do the same thing. And so we positioned it district-wide at $100,000. And that's really full of incentives. So everyone gets cash and gifts and swag and meals. And that's where that money would be spent. Tennis shoes for students, we'd like to up that to, again, this is a multi-year. So we're looking at $150,000 over a 3-year period. Jazzy is self-funded, and we really are in a position now to look at the growth and long-term sustainability. And in the agreement with the Argovitzes, we started with $450,000, so there is money there, and inside of their estate is an additional $550,000. And then our SMART, or Student Mentor Resource Training, fundraising goal would be $250,000, and I'm happy to say we just sent an email request for $40,000 to a funder today, and so that was really fun. I'll pause for a second. Any questions? Any thoughts? I'm going to get into kind of the fun stuff. Okay, wellness centers. I don't know if everybody has toured a wellness center, but here are some of the photos from various wellness centers. And you'll see a garden wall with twinkle lights is a common theme. The other thing that is a common theme is an inspiration wall. Water features are common themes. And the variety of seating areas. And it is our understanding that these are calming, soothing places for young students, young people to go and to relax, to decompress, to self-regulate. And in addition to our students, our faculty and staff are invited to use that as well. Somebody said it looked like a doctor's office. And so the school that said it looked like a doctor's office, we do ask each school to send us a design board or their imagination board, and the school that said they look like doctor's offices, they actually created a Japanese Zen design board. And I told them I didn't think we could do hardwood floors, but I like the look very, very much. I think it'll be very pretty. This is our essay contest. We had a completion or an award dinner at the Palm Springs Air Museum. Top left-hand corner are our sponsors. This was something really great. So Jeremy Hobbs is on the right-hand side, and he is, if you're looking at the screen, if you're looking on your side, it's probably the left side. Oh, no, he's the right side. And then Senator Barbara Boxer, Debbie Green from the Rancho Mirage Writers Festival, and Terry Kedover, who is a community member and now the head of Do the Right Thing. What was really great, the Rancho Mirage Writers Festival, they have book kiosks at Eisenhower in the lobby and in their ER. And they asked if they could turn some of the essays into books so that when students or young people were in the ER or in the lobby of a hospital, that they would be able to actually read books written by our students. And they would like to launch that in October. So we thought that was very exciting. This is the TED Ed. It was a small group, and you'll see the various photos of our community members who are leading this, our students who participated in it. And then on the far corner, community members were invited to not a production, but at the end of the 10 sessions, all of the students, it was voluntary, all of the students volunteered to tell their stories. So the way this works in the 10 units, they are introduced to public speaking, they're introduced to topic concepts, Trust is being built. Once the student lands on a topic that they're interested in, they are required to go and research, to read about it, to write about it, and then ultimately that will translate into storytelling. Some of the topics that the students talked about, autism was a topic. Another topic was why they wanted to be a social worker, and the young man that shared very profound and very personal things about his childhood, and he didn't even know social work existed until he got into this program. And he has been moved around to various homes and other places. So it was really very impactful for him. He's a great student. And let's see, very fun. Musical Theater University, MTU, most of you are very, very familiar with it. These are a couple of the shows from this year, and community performances and productions. And we were in a meeting yesterday, and it was really interesting. There's been so much inflation that MTU really does struggle to have 3 full productions a year. And so that is some area where we're looking at supplementing and doing all of the community events. Now, the community events are very selective. It has to be high profile, and there has to be a contribution. It's like the MTU is very clear that they cannot really perform at every Rotary Club event. They cannot perform at every HOA luncheon that they get invited to. So we work with them to strategize the best use of their time for the return on investment. And this is our SMART program that was also at the Air Museum, and this was completion. It was a super great year. I will say that the gentleman on the far left-hand side, students come, like you start with a group. I'm very happy to say that this particular cohort, I believe Sydney and Ellen, we had 100% retention with our students this year, which is somewhat unusual because in the past we've not always had 100% retention of students. And this year we did not have 100% retention of the mentors. And the gentleman on the left-hand side, the second line, ended up actually mentoring 5 young men. And I think that they were both, the kids and the mentor was profoundly touched by that experience. Our Havana Nights event. I'm very happy to say when the foundation board decided to do this event, which we raise community dollars to underwrite it, because it was the very first event since the very early days of doing a concert at the Richard Center, the organization was okay if it broke even. We never want to have a loss, but to break even. And I'm very happy to say we just inched above breaking even and made a little bit of money that we're able to put in classroom grants. So we called it a success. We had a year-end donor thank you. A lot of people were there. Dr. Sweezy's right in the middle. Had about 100 people at a beautiful home in the Indian Canyon neighborhood. And there's our save the date. And that's our information.
Comments?
Oh, thank you. Thank you to the foundation and to the board for all that you do for our students. It's amazing. I mean, from where we started to where we are now. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Ellen. Fantastic
Thank you, Ellen.
year. All right, that brings us to 9B, the Local Control Accountability Plan presentation. Dr. Kovacs.
Yes, thank you so much. It's that time of year in June at our first meeting when our Director of State and Federal Programs will present the LCAP for the upcoming year. And next year will be our last year of a 3-year plan, and Dr. Pfeffer will be presenting that as well as the plan for Cielo Vista Charter.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody this evening. As Dr. Kovacs has already stated, it's time as usual this time of year for us to present our newest iteration of the Local Control Accountability Plan. Tonight, we're going to be sharing both the Palm Springs Unified Plan and the Cielo Vista Charter Plan. I believe that Juanita Perez-Chica, sitting with us today, is here in case you have any questions regarding the Cielo Vista Plan directly. What we'll be doing is going over the plan as a whole, going through the different aspects of it. We'll go through the Palm Springs Unified pieces in detail, and then we'll touch on the Cielo Vista components towards the end of the slide deck. So a reminder to the board that this is entering the final year of a 3-year LCAP cycle. Each one of those LCAPs is intended to be a 3-year roving cycle piece. And so we're looking to make the updates for that third and final year. By June 30th of each year, it is a deadline for us to make sure that we have adopted the revision to the current LCAP. And it's important to note that the full redesign of the LCAP for a new 3-year cycle will take place over the course of the next year in preparation for approval next year at around this time. We're expecting a new template as part of that work. We're expecting some new aspects as part of that work, so it may look a little bit different next time around as we're starting to put together that new 3-year plan structure. I also wanted to take an opportunity as part of this to touch again on the California School Dashboard and the accountability system. These two pieces are interlinked as we speak to accountability within the LCAP document. I'd also like to remind the board, as part of previous conversations, that this year is a status-only aspect of the dashboard. Starting again next year, we'll return to factoring in both status and improvement or change, to which Palm Springs Unified has always been pretty successful, and we'll highlight a couple of spaces where we're expecting to see some growth moving forward in tonight's presentation. Also, as a district, we were identified for differentiated assistance for 5 student groups: English learners, students with disabilities, foster youth, African American students, and American Indian students. We have items in the LCAP designed to help improve outcomes for all of these student groups, and I'll highlight those as we go through as well. Also spoken to within the LCAP are our 2 comprehensive support and improvement sites, Desert Hot Springs High School and Painted Hills Middle School, where we do have additional information specific to how we're supporting those sites. And a reminder that we had 21 schools identified for what is referred to as ATSI for student group support. Those supports are located in their school plans that you'll be looking to approve at our next meeting. So a brief review of the different sections of the LCAP document itself. There's a variety of different pieces that are spoken to each year, including some budget overview components, some basic plan summary pieces where we're talking about successes and challenges over the course of the last year and what we're looking to address moving forward. We also get the opportunity to talk about how we engage our educational partners, which leads into our goals and actions, talks about how we increase and improve services for those targeted groups in the LCAP, which again are foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. And then at the end of the document, you find some different tables that are referred to as the action tables that note the specific expenditures by action across the set. So as I start going into the different components, I'm going to go through some of the sections fairly quickly. I'll pause along the way to address questions, but I do encourage the board, if at any point you want to interject with a question, please feel free to do so. So just as the plan summary section, that's broken into a couple of different key components. Really, this is a brief overview of the plan as a whole. We're put in some reflections that include successes and challenges, the way that we collect input, talk a little bit about some of the different pieces that have gone over well. We do highlight our differentiated assistance groups as well in some of these sections and speak directly to how we support our CSI schools with funding and with some of their initial plans. More details of the specific actions of those are found in their SIPSAs. Again, those will be coming to you at our next meeting session. But the LCAP speaks to those in generalities. And so after we get this opportunity to explain where the district is and how we go through those components, we move forward to talking about how we engage educational partners in our process. This year, we had a wide variety of meetings over the course of the spring, in addition to the input that we collect throughout the year in various structures. This year, I'm pleased to say we actually increased the number of meetings up to 28 different input sessions specifically designated for the LCAP. You can see a list of those input sections here on the slide deck. Where we really look to focus those efforts is we have sessions dedicated specifically to the LCAP, but then we also factor in things like survey information. We factor in different conversations and different actions within board meetings and some of the different presentations that come through in order to address our needs. So it's a really comprehensive approach. We're able to get a lot of different input, a lot of different viewpoints within the plan document. After speaking to our team at Riverside County Office of Education on our initial review of the plan from their eyes, I did ask them, how do we compare across the county in engaging educational partners? Although they were hesitant, as you might understand, to point out exactly where we lie, they did indicate that we had some of the more significant number of group interactions specifically for LCAP purposes, and so that's really a credit to our district in seeking out that input from as many groups as possible. So the next piece within the LCAP starts to dive into goals and actions. Being the third year of a 3-year plan, we're continuing to maintain our 3 primary goals. The descriptions of those goals really has not changed much. Goal 1 still has to do with academics, looking to prepare students for college and career options of their choice at the time of graduation through a variety of different academically structured programs. This is where we'll find things such as professional development, coaching, intervention programs, and a variety of other sources that we'll touch on here in a few moments. Goal 2 focuses on parent and community engagement, continuing to make sure that we are broadening our impact, not just with our students, but across our communities as well, and making sure that we're considering them as partners in our processes, looking to have them make quality input into our process, making sure they're part of that decision-making element with an effort to promote student success. Finally, goal 3 is all about physically and healthy and emotionally safe environments. This is where we find different aspects related to counseling and mental health and some of those non-academic services that we find that we know are contributing to the success of students. Let me pause there as we've kind of done the brief overview of kind of the structural elements. I'm going to be going into some of the actions as we move forward from this slide. Does the board have any questions at this point in juncture? Okay. So I will be going through the various actions fairly quickly. My goal here is just to highlight kind of the key changes or what's being continued on due to either positive input or positive outcomes regarding our actions. Again, I'll ask the board to feel free to interject. I will pause a couple of times along the way. Within Goal 1, we have a variety of different actions, again, focused on academics and improvement. So this is where we find things such as staffed professional development and instructional coaches. In this case, for 23-24, we've added a secondary math coach to the equation in order to provide some additional support there in improving mathematics instruction across the board. As we look at other items within Goal 1, we have additional instructional collaboration time, technology implementation. These are kind of set the stage for a lot of different pieces and allow for some additional services, including that additional day of professional development that we're able to offer each year in October. 1.5 has kind of become one of our key actions, our multi-tiered systems of support. This would be the academic branch of those pieces. This is where our primary reading intervention and our secondary mathematics intervention factors into place. We've added some different pieces across the board over the years. This year we've increased some of the federal funding tied to this particular action in order to add some English language arts intervention staff at the middle school level where we were finding an additional need. And Mr. Arnold will be coordinating those efforts and making sure that they are supported. This really is an action designed to respond to students' needs as they occur. So this provides the infrastructure to be able to provide those timely supports as needed. We also have some different items that include some expansions. I'll highlight 1.7, our dual immersion program, which continues to increase as that oldest cohort of students moves up in grade level. So we're continuing to build that program out. Excited to see high school on the near horizon for those students. Not quite there yet, but they're coming soon. So we continue to monitor them and continue to provide resources and those supports. Also within Goal 1, we have a variety of other options that really start to look at different programs and different student groups as part of their targeted supports. I will highlight in class size reduction, item 1.10, that we did move a few items out to another state-funded grant source in order to balance out the LCAP this year, in order to make sure that we could maintain those class sizes from the current year. Sure. That support actually branches a little bit out of our MTSS groups and helps to integrate into some of our special education work. So we have staffing that is designed to support different teachers, especially in special education placements or significant intervention pieces, in order to make sure that we can differentiate that instruction. Some of those also allow us some additional staffing in order to keep those intervening groups a bit lower, make sure that we can be responsive and do some additional co-teaching elements to allow that extra special education professional to push into the regular environment, helping with a responsive way to support students as it's needed. So they're mostly individual staff in 1.12 that go along a different way. The top items is the program specialists and coordinator roles that are at the district level that help to service some other folks. I didn't bring the exact count of staffing there, but I can certainly give that to you at a later time. They do serve all of our schools, yes.
Dr. Pfeffer, I was curious as well. I hear you mentioning that the amount of fees have increased. Do you have that anywhere on the presentation to show that what the increase was from the year prior?
That's actually shown in the action tables at the back end of the LCAP document, something that I can certainly highlight for you at a later time, where we show what was expended in 22-23 and what that budgeted amount is in 23-24. Keep in mind that the LCAP is also balanced with the full district budget presentation, which you'll be getting here shortly as well, where some of those things can be highlighted further. I don't know, Dr. Murray, if there's something else we want to touch on with that. Okay.
I was just like, maybe like if it's 20,000 or whatever, or 100,000, maybe like on the side increase 100,000 or 200,000, you know, just like another little spot right here on that.
Sure. Yeah, we could look to provide that to you at a later time.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Certainly. School site allocations. This is what helps to fund the school SIPSs. There are school individual plans to help provide school level targeted support. We as a district continue to believe that there are needs that are specific to each one of our schools, and this allows our principals and our school teams, our school site councils, to address those needs. This is actually being reinforced with the conversation at the state level around the equity multiplier conversation, which will be something you may be hearing about as the state budget finalizes. We also have some different actions as it relates to things like enhanced elementary learning opportunities. One of the newest items added for 22-23 was the elementary STEAM program in Action 1.16. That received rave reviews in our input collection and review pieces from nearly every educational partner group. And so that's a very positive action, and that's something we're definitely looking to continue to maintain and grow upon. So those pieces are a good example of an addition that's being carried over because of that positive feedback that we've received and the impact that it's had on our students and on our schools. Finally, in Goal 1, we also have a couple of different items as it relates to some different online programs and some alternative education. I will highlight Action 1.21 is no longer here for 23-24. That was an item that was added last year so that we can meet our percentage of increase and improved services. I'll touch on that in more detail as we get to Goal 3 because there's still an item there, but we didn't need a separate one in Goal 1 this year. Before I move on to Goal 2, let me pause and see if the board has any questions about our approach for the academic side of the LCAP. Okay. One piece I'd like us to keep in mind as well is there's a number of other plans that speak to academic improvement, things like our A to G plan, our universal pre-K plan, some other different pieces that are also in existence that are helping to support academic improvement. Goal 2, again, is about parent and community engagement. The key funding pieces here are our Family Center, which continues to get very positive feedback and provides a wide variety of different opportunities for parents to engage in, as well as our FACE specialists, our Family and Community Engagement Specialists, that support mostly our high targeted schools, but also all the other schools across our district with parent engagement opportunities, running different workshops and different engagement actions within the school sites. That team's actually in the middle of a training week this week and a preparation week so that they can hit the ground running again in the fall. And they've been doing a wonderful job. We're also pleased to say that our social worker team finally came to full fruition this year, which is fantastic. I know that Ms. Musel over at Student Services has been working hard to get that flushed out, and that's finally fully up and running, which is fantastic.
Visits. When you talk about culturally responsive home visits, what exactly happens, or how do you select those? Do you have any idea?
That's actually a training mechanism about how to approach home visits with different groups and different family structures. We're actually going to be looking to re-update some of that training in the 23-24 with our FACES, so that as they can help support, they bring some of that expertise. Our prevention specialists and our community liaisons have also engaged in that training previously. But really it's that, how do we approach different family structures? How do we make sure that we're being responsive and communicating in a way that best supports the needs of families?
Do you, or maybe Dr. College knows, how many home visits does our staff make?
I'm okay.
Okay, just interested to know how many people we're actually visiting at their home. Do our social workers go out also to the homes? They also do.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of people in student services that make home visits. Maybe you could just include that. Who exactly are going out and making home visits?
Yeah, we can certainly include some of that information. The FACE specialists also tend to join school staff at their sites and doing some of those as well from the family side. Moving on to goal 3, safe and healthy learning environments. A variety of different services are provided here. We're continuing with our supplemental counselors, mental health supports, making sure that we're continuing to target the specific needs of our foster youth, as well as continuing to provide different structures around our assistant principals and our student dean structures. Again, I'll highlight the other half of our MTSS structure in 3.6. This is more of the social, emotional, and behavioral support pieces where our MTSS coaches were, again, positively received by both schools and by families and by students to be able to help support the needs of middle school students and the couple of high schools that they were in previously. This is also where we continue to utilize tools like Panorama and some of those other structures to help us with guiding those supports and being proactive in those processes. We also have some additional pieces regarding campus safety that Mr. Smart highlighted in a previous presentation. In 3.9, in a nursing staff component, we've added some additional training dollars for this year, specifically around the use of AEDs and Narcan. Added into our CPR components and part of those training elements, so that now that's a little more comprehensive of a training and allows more staff to know how to use those particular materials in a timely manner to support any needs that may arise. Finally, in goal 3, I did mention previously about one of those $0 actions. It's here in 3.13. These are actions to help increase our planned improvement percentage. Although that may seem small, the dollar value attached to that when we're talking about a $97+ million plan is pretty significant. But these are items that the district has partnerships with that are zero cost to the district but increase services. So in the case of 3.13, we have some mental health interns that will be coming in to support students, as well as the teletherapy services through our SB HIP partnership. Ellen just referred to that as part of the foundation presentation as a piece, and we'll be providing additional information to the board on some of those pieces down the road. But we're pretty excited about those particular aspects being able to be added in as another layer of support. Any questions surrounding Goal 3? All right. I did want to take a moment and highlight a couple of the actions that are specifically supporting differentiated assistance groups. As I noted, Palm Springs Unified does have 5 groups designated, and the intent of these supplemental and concentration dollars is to service 3 of those groups: socioeconomically disadvantaged students or low income, English learner, and foster youth. However, each of these specific actions has either an element in it or by itself has shown to gain improvement in the accountability system previously. And so these are the actions that we're really keying in on to expect to see growth and improvement. So as we're monitoring these particular pieces, these are direct tiebacks into the state accountability system as well as local monitoring to determine effectiveness. So after looking at the different actions, and again, we'll touch on the Cielo Vista specific points here in just a few minutes, we have a section referred to as increased and improved services for foster youth, English learners, and low-income students. I've given you one portion of our table. This is actually one of the longer sections of our LCAP, where we list out the specific details regarding how we're servicing the needs, the conditions, and the circumstances around our student population, what those actions are and how they support those needs, and then what expected outcomes we would expect to see. For every contributing action in the plan, we have a table like this that outlines that in detail. And really touches on those key pieces of how we're using those supplemental and concentration funds to support improvement. Also available in this section, although not in the table in a separate section, are some descriptions of how services are specifically increasing, improving, or targeting specific groups, as well as some student and staff ratio information. And then finally, as referenced previously, there's a set of action tables at the back end of the document that list out what our 23-24 planned expenditures are, what we're looking at as contributing actions for the upcoming school year, and then 3 tables that act as a review of the 22-23 year. So this really outlines what our initial plans were, how things shifted, where those dollars were directed as well. So to give an overall breakdown of exactly how the 23-24 year is looking, supplemental and concentration funds in the plan represent slightly over $97 million worth of funding. We've also have an additional $5 million plus of federal funds that specifically tie to LCAP actions that are identified within the plan. And we do have some additional grant funding sources for our teacher residency program and addressing our class size reduction efforts that are also included here because they tie to LCAP actions. So within the entire LCAP, if you put all of that together, it encompasses $103,830,826 worth of services designed to increase and improve services for low-income students, English learners, and foster youth. Before I dive into the Cielo Vista components momentarily, any questions from the board? Very good. I'm going to do a brief review of the Cielo Vista pieces. Again, Ms. Perez-Chica is here if there's any questions that arise. Cielo Vista LCAP goals 1 and 2 are their academic goals within their plan. You can see a brief description of the actions. In my conversations with Ms. Perez-Chica, many of these are rollover and continuations of previous effort with a few new pieces put into place. Similar to our district's plan, the Cielo Vista plan also does the heavy lifting here on the academic side. You'll notice that the funding here represents a larger proportion than it does as I move over to goals 3 and 4, which in their context is the safe and healthy schools and the parent engagement pieces. So again, looking at that well-rounded plan structure that provides a wide variety of services to the students and families at Cielo Vista Charter. To give the brief funding summary again, they have just under $4 million within their supplemental and concentration funds. Also, they have some federal funds that tie specific to those LCAP actions, bringing the total of their plan to just over $4 million worth of actions. So at this point, that's what I have for you to present. We'll be doing a public hearing here shortly. Then the LCAP with any revisions and any new collected items would be presented to you at the next meeting for approval. However, let me pause one last time and ask the board if we have any questions at this point.
What are the chances of adding some additional funds to expand dual enrollment to another school?
To expand enrollment to another school?
Dual enrollment.
Oh, dual enrollment to another school.
Dual immersion, I'm sorry.
Dual immersion program. I'm sure that's something that we can continue to explore. Funding is evolving, and we're coming up to a nexus point fairly soon with expiring COVID funds and a few different pieces. We're also waiting for state budgeting items to even out. So although that may be something down the road, I don't know if that's an immediate piece. I'll defer to Dr. Kovac.
Yes, and as we've shared with the board for the 24-25 school year, we'll be expanding dual immersion. I know. And it's coming.
So not in the next iteration, but the one after that,
24,
it sounds
25.
like we'll be looking at adding some pieces.
Which schools will it be?
Well, the board has expressed interest in a site in Desert Hot Springs, so we'll discuss that as we move forward and start planning early in the fall. And we have just hired a dual immersion TOSA to support that expansion. As a matter of fact, Hydo was here today, and we're excited to bring him on. So,
Thank you, Dr. Favre.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, did anybody else have a question? All right, 9C is the 2023-2024 adoption budget presentation, and Dr. Murray will be presenting this. So we.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry?
I said, do we applaud now or after?
Oh, no. Never necessary. All right. Good evening. Before we get too far along, I want to thank and recognize our Director of Fiscal Services, Tony Carrillo, who's in the front row here. Tony and his team have put in many hours and weekends to complete this year's budget and make sure that the budget and everything that was asked of him and his department was on time. Actually, this is the first time, I think, in many years that the deadlines were actually exceeded. In other words, I'd ask for information on a Friday and I get it on a Wednesday. So I can't remember the last time that happened. So Tony has done a great job, and so really appreciate his work on this. I also want to recognize our new CBO who's here tonight, Jeff Simmons. While I've known Mr. Simmons for the last 8 years informally, I've worked with him the last 7 days, and Mr. Simmons has not only impressed me with his questions that he's asked, the depth of his technical understanding of issues impacting business operations is very deep. And I am convinced that he will do an amazing job here in PSUSD. So, with respect to tonight's presentation, really a summary of our adopted budget, our SACS report. It's item 10C on the agenda, and that's in addition to that, we have the public hearing regarding the Palm Springs Unified School District reserve levels for 23-24 budget adoption. And that is also detailed in the SACS report under the criteria and standards section, in addition to the attachment in agenda item 10D. All right, moving on. Slide 2 includes the topics for today's presentation that I'll be reviewing with you. Moving on to a brief economic overview, as I usually do with my budget presentations. As the board is aware, I always include information in these presentations related to GDP, or gross domestic product, as it is a broad measure of overall domestic production, and it functions as a comprehensive scorecard of the country's economic health. The overall economy has improved, as you can see, since the first half of 2022, but remains well below the pandemic level highs. Unemployment levels have reached pre-pandemic lows. However, many economists are expressing concerns that the cooling economy or an economic recession may lead to higher jobless rates in the coming months. Here on slide 6, as the board knows, I try to include information on CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, as it is a key indicator that we often use to determine contract rates with our vendors and contractors. After reaching its peak at 9.1% in the summer of 2022, U.S. inflation is currently at 4.9%. And then the median weekly earnings for full-time employees have increased by 6.1% from a year ago and by 27.6% over the last 5 years. With respect to Wall Street, you could see it's recovering from its initial shock of Federal Reserve interest rate hikes that have been somewhat consistent, but they have not reached the peak performance for some, and some would say it's in a state of really consistent uncertainty. At the peaks, the Dow Jones reached 36,338, and the Standard & Poor's Index was at 4766, and currently the Dow Jones is at approximately 33,000, and Standard & Poor's is at roughly 4,100. The housing market has been in a recession for nearly 2 years and is deepening with increasing mortgage rates, and this is making it even more difficult for the parents or guardians of our students to buy a home. According to many economists we work with, the economy continues to face significant headwinds and remains in turbulent territory. Many factors pose significant risks to the economy, the state budget, and long-term forecast. Also, the stock market decline and volatility creates a risky environment for investors, especially our wealthiest residents, since the top 1% of taxpayers account for 50% of the state's tax revenue. This volatility is especially damaging to state revenues and ultimately our revenues. State revenues are down and have dropped even more since January. And the postponement of personal income tax and corporate returns has caused more uncertainty when it comes to budget planning for next year. And then lastly on this slide, the Federal Reserve's regular interest rate hikes do address inflation, and recent bank failures, as well as the debt ceiling fight, economists believe all combine for a risky road ahead. With respect to our budget, you can see the economy clearly poses a risk to our budget, and there are other factors that present more impactful risks for us. Our work ahead will be to prepare mitigation strategies to deal with these closely related issues. Moving on to the May revision and Proposition 98. Remember, Proposition 98 is the proposition that funds K-14 education in California. And despite the fact that the governor has updated projections and proposals, we anticipate some changes to the budget when the legislature adopts the state spending plan by June 15th. The largest K-12 investment you can see in his May revision was in the local control funding formula, also known as LCFF, and its various components totaling an additional $5 billion in Proposition 98 resources. Other major investments include categorical program COLA totaling $669 million, including state preschool rate adjustments. Adjustments to proposed LCFF funding reflect both an increase in COLA and a decrease in enrollment projections, which also affects the transitional kindergarten expansion. And then proposed funding to support the equity multiplier is unchanged, while the TK expansion ratio has been cut almost in half in the May revision. With respect to Proposition 98, specifically in the state proposition that guides TK-14 education funding, you can see that the minimum guarantee for education, those blue bars, have pretty much plateaued. However, overall funding for Proposition 98 has increased 81% since the inception of LCFF, and that was about 10 years ago. Conversely, and problematically, student attendance has declined over 10% over that same time period. Speaking of attendance, you know that's something that you know is very near and dear to us. Declining enrollment has been a common topic of conversation for many years in our district, but the rate at which students are attending school statewide has become the hot topic of conversation in Sacramento, especially over the last 2 years. Statewide attendance rates in 22-23, the year just ended, have rebounded only marginally from the 21-22 attendance rates and are nowhere near the pre-pandemic levels that we had, again, prior to the pandemic. With respect to looking at statewide enrollment projections, you can see that most areas in the state are affected by declining enrollment, but to differing degrees. There are 12 counties that are projected to lose 10,000 or more students between now and 2031-32. 18 counties are projected to lose students at a rate faster than the state average of 8.27%. Enrollment trends for each school district are unique to the community and student populations that they serve. For us here in Riverside County, you can see the projected decline is 4%, which is less than half the projected statewide average. And we share these data with you because enrollment trends have a direct impact on the bottom line, as you know, and that's not only for the current year, but also every year in our budget that we're presenting to you. With respect to PSUSD, this is a chart that you see once every month. And here on slide 17, you can see that the bottom red line shows our week 1 enrollment each month throughout this school year that just ended last Friday. And that's compared to the last 10 years of enrollment. So you can see if we were to compare this year's enrollment in May to the same time period for 21-22, it shows that we have 453 fewer students in just that 1 year period. As this graph relates to next year's budget, it's important to remember that we cannot create a budget without accurately identifying and projecting the budget year's ADA, or average daily attendance. And as I've stated to you previously, average daily attendance is closely related to enrollment, and both are closely related to our revenue projections. Here on slide 18, the Public Policy Institute of California, or PPIC, issued a blog about new population patterns that may impact the state's economy and revenues if they continue. And here you can see that California is losing more residents than it is gaining, and at all income levels. Since 2018, the net loss of higher income residents has been starker than middle income Californians. Given California's progressive tax policies, the state's high earning residents contribute, as you know, a disproportionate share of tax revenue. So to see the bar of the higher income learners leaving the state is certainly alarming. Here on slide 19 is a tidy comparison between the governor's vision for the 23-24 budget released in January and his May revision released last month. That summarizes the last few slides. And what's glaring here is that it's important to share for the governor to balance his May revision. He's taking funds that were previously allocated through the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant and the Learning Recovery Block Grant. So for Palm Springs Unified, our Arts and Music Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant initial allocation was about $11 million. And the proposed May revision change that would reduce this number to $5.8 million. Again, this is the governor's proposal, and so we'll know more by just a couple days when the budget is signed how this really impacts things. And then for the Learning Recovery Block Grant, our initial allocation was $39.2 million, and then the proposed May revision would change our allocation to $26.7 million. So again, that's the governor's way of trying to fund Proposition 98 by using one-time money previously allocated to us. Slide 20 shows our funding rates by grade span for the next year. And as you can see, the net impact of the 8.22% COLA that's listed here on the 5 grade spans, TK, K3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 12. So to summarize the May revision, you can see that the impact on Proposition 98 is resulting in about $4 billion more to LCFF funding. Again, he's using one-time funds to help pay for that in his plan. The equity multiplier is still in the governor's budget plan. And lastly, the plan's being funded from $2.8 billion in one-time Prop 98 funds. If we take a quick look and see what's not in the governor's May revision, we can see that he's currently not planning on making withdrawal from reserves to fund the COLA, and he does not plan on deferring payments or deficiting the COLA. Any questions real quick about the budget overview or the economic overview?
Just a quick question. The little brief kind of introduction that you did, will the new, will you do that as well, or is that just something that you do?
Well, that's a great question, and actually he asked me about that today, as a matter of fact. This is something that I've been doing since I took over this role, and that's because the person, I guess I would call him a mentor of mine, Jim Novak, a former CBO in our district, that's what he used to do. So it was something that was well received, and so I just continue to do that. So if the board feels that it's a favorable thing to do, I'm sure he would do that. If the board doesn't see a value in it, then I'm sure he would adjust his presentations accordingly.
I like it.
Okay. All right. So if we move on to our budget assumptions for this year, what we're presenting to you this evening for your consideration is based on the best guess analysis of using a variety of resources, including School Services of California, Capital Advisors, the Legislative Analyst's Office, the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, or FCMAT, the Department of Finance, and our own Riverside County Office of Education. As you have seen so far, we do anticipate some revisions once the legislature's plan and the governor's plan become one plan, and that's here in just a few days. On to our budget assumptions, you can see that we're showing a slight growth in ADA, which is the net increase based on declining enrollment, but an increase in TK ADA. We also factored in a decrease in enrollment of 200 students per year, which was used to identify projected ADA numbers in the out years, and that's 24-25 and 25-26. And district-wide, we're working to address the attendance rate, which we budgeted at 89.2% for both 24-25 and 25-26. And just to remind the board again, our attendance rates prior to the pandemic were at 94%. So took a huge hit last year and didn't rebound nearly as much as we'd hope this year. So that obviously has an impact on what we're doing here. And then lastly, you can see that unrestricted and restricted lottery revenue for ADA remained flat over the 3-year period. So these are the assumptions we use for revenue projections. If we move on to our 23-24 unrestricted general fund budget and multi-year projection, you can see it's a pretty dense slide here, so I'm going to go through very carefully. Slide 27 deals with unrestricted general fund and the multi-year projection, or MYP, for the 3 fiscal years that are required. On this slide, there are a few lines that are important for me to point out, in addition to the bottom line. Focusing on the first column, and that's what we'll do right now tonight, is the 23-24 column. The $318,391,176 in total revenues includes all LCFF funds and does not include any federal funding or other state and local revenues or carryover funds. Actual carryovers will not be seen or realized until September, when we complete our unaudited actuals for this year that just ended. Historically, over the last 5 years, we've had anywhere from $5 to $10 million fall out or carry over from one year to the next. During the especially challenging pandemic years, we had roughly $15 million carry over each year, and we certainly project less fallout from this year. We project our expenditures to be $296,628,857, leaving a balance of a little over $21 million. Of the $8,257,618 in other resources or transfers in, $2.5 million is from Fund 17 for budgeting purposes. Almost $6.1 million is from Fund 40 for routine restricted maintenance and also for classroom furniture. For other uses or transfers out, $4,296,073. The entire amount you see listed there is to Fund 68 and 69. And those are our insurance and liability funds. $3.9 million is to pay for our property and liability insurance. $300,000 is to fund our Teamsters retirement pools, and the remaining $1,500 is to offset the cost associated with the additional day next school year. Of the $36,887,200 in contributions, the entire amount is projected special education program and routine restricted maintenance related expenses. So due in part to the significant contributions we need to make, you can see that we are projecting a deficit unrestricted general fund budget of $11.1 million. As we work our way down the table, you can see that we're estimating our July 1 beginning balance in our unrestricted general fund to be $40,612,235. And in about a year from now, June 30th of 2024, we're projecting our unrestricted general fund ending balance to be $29,448,899. The components of the unrestricted general fund ending fund balance are listed under the $29.4 million that you see listed there, and they include revolving cash and stores, our statutory 3% reserve for economic uncertainties, and funds currently assigned and our board approved commitments. The $150,000 in revolving cash and stores is the inventory we show in the warehouse. The $15,782,212 on the committed line are funds that were committed by the board on April 26, 2022, and will be used to address the structural deficit. The $13,079,284 is our reserve. I think I just said that. Yes, a reserve for economic uncertainties derived based on statutory formula percentage of expenditures in the budget. And then the $437,403 under assign represents funds assigned but not yet encumbered at year closing. And then lastly, it is important to remind the board that this budget does not include any increases associated with bargaining agreement settlements. Those agreements or adjustments will be reflected in the next budget that we present to you. Once those agreements have been ratified by our bargaining units and the county has approved our AB 1200 documentation. So any questions about our unrestricted general fund budget for next year that I can answer before I move on to our restricted general fund?
Sorry, I have a question about other sources transfers in 2025, 26. Where are we getting that $30 million from?
So for 25, 26, 30 million?
It says, well, other sources, like
Right.
for the other 2 years, are around a little over 8 million, and for that year, it's 30 million.
Right, it's significantly higher. Tony?
That is from our Fund 17, our special reserve fund, using money, transferring money from that fund to our unrestricted fund.
To balance the budget. So,
Fund 17.
yes.
Do you want to explain what Fund 17
Sure.
is, just so we know
Sure,
for sure?
sure. Fund 17 is our special reserve fund. It's a non-capital special reserve fund, so it's a fund we use to help fill in budget holes in the budget, so we can present budgets to you that balance and don't result in a negative ending fund balance. So that's what we use Fund 17 for. We sweep positions that may be budgeted but not filled, and that salary savings we can use to save for future budget development. Okay, moving on to the general fund budget for restricted. You can see here on slide 29 that it shows our general fund budget, also known as Fund 06. And for other sources and transfers in, the 1.17 million comes from Fund 9, and that's the charter school, and that's for special ed related services. And when we look at the restricted general fund budget, we see that we balance only through a $36,887,200 contribution from our unrestricted general fund for special education and routine restricted maintenance. The $104,656,226 in legally restricted funds are projected fund balances in restricted programs. And that includes the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant, the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant, and the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. So all of those grant funds have specific purposes, and that's why they're in the restricted side of the budget. If we look at the combined budget,
Dr. Murray?
yes.
Can you go back to the next slide? I was just curious. The total revenue was 113, and it looks like it kind of dipped to 77 million. What could be the reason for that?
If revenues are generally a result of COLA and projections associated with developing revenue. So if we look at the current COLA that's been identified for the next 2 years, they're less than half of what the COLA is for this year. So that's why that revenue number has dipped. The actual projected COLA for the next 2 years is 3.4%, and I think I've got it here. I'm sorry, for 26-27, 3.19%, and for 27-28, 3.16%. So you can see that the COLAs are going to be around 3% right now for those out years.
Can you briefly explain what the COLA is?
Sure. COLA is the cost of living allowance, and it is a figure that we often use to determine. It's actually a calculation that's in the LCFF calculator that Tony uses to generate all the budget numbers. And what is used is the percent increase in the overall budget from the previous year, and it's the actual dollar amount revenue that is generated from that is a combination of that percent increase as well as the ADA value, what percent of our kids are attending school over the course of the year. All right. So if we take a look at slide 30, you can see that we're on to the combined general fund. So if you look at Fund 03 and Fund 06 together, that's the unrestricted and the restricted general fund, you can see that we have a total revenue at an all-time high of over $431.9 million and an all-time high in expenses of $431.6 million. And then the rest of the slide contains information that I've shared with you on the previous two slides. So before I move on from the unrestricted, restricted, and combined general fund, are there any additional questions that I can answer? Okay. All right. So if we take a look at our unrestricted general fund salaries and benefits, and again, this is something the board has been interested in looking at in the past. On slide 33, you can see that it's a brief history showing unrestricted salaries and benefits as a percent of unrestricted budget expenditures. And you can see that we are right in the, most recently, right around that 85% number, and that's really the sweet spot number for us. And I do want to point out a typo that I missed and many other sets of eyes missed. Fourth row down, it's not 2010 to 2021, it should be 2020 to 2021. So thanks, Mr. Simmons, for that.
All right, moving on to estimated
Unrestricted expenditures. And I mean that in a sincere way. Another way to show these data are on the pie graph you can see on this page. 15.28%, or about $45 million of our unrestricted expenditures, are for materials, books, supplies, and services. And everything else goes to people. If we take a look at our budgets for other funds, remember in this SACS report, we spend most of the time dealing with the unrestricted and restricted general fund, but it includes the budgets for all of the funds that we use in our district. And so we're showing projected revenues and expenditures for Fund 08 through Fund 69. And also as a reminder, if you look at the row 11 or Fund 11 on the books, we do have a Fund 11, and that's for adult education, but the revenue comes in through a pass-through from COD. COD oversees the adult ed program for our area and allocates funds to districts for special or specific purposes. And it's important to note that we're projecting a zero or a positive fund balance in all of our other funds for next year. If we move on to STRS and PERS costs update, another thing that the board has been interested in knowing year to year. You can see here on slide 38, I point out a few highlights. First, the STRS and PERS, and STRS stands for State Teachers Retirement System, and PERS stands for Public Employees Retirement System percents that are listed here. In the 23-24 budget column, 19.1% and 26.68% respectively are the percentage for the budget year. So those are the percentages that we will need to pay as the employer rate for our retirement, toward retirement for our employees. The figures in the increase rows show the percent increase from the previous year, and the figures in the cumulative rows show the cumulative increase from the 13-14 rates, and that's when the latest funding plan was established in 2013 and 14. For STRS, you can see there's no increase projected for next year, and with PERS, we're looking at a 1.31 increase in the budget year, followed by a 1.02 decrease the following year. Slide 39 puts these percents into numbers. You can see that we're projecting additional STRS and PERS impact through 25-26. And then lastly, keep in mind that these percents really and these dollar amounts are based on current staffing estimates and change as employees come and go throughout the years listed. If we take a quick look at COVID resources update, the information here on slide 41 is an updated view of spending through April 30th to reflect our current expenses and balances. And then here you can see the shaded out part are the funds that have zero balances, and actually the deadline is already passed for expending those. And the second round, you can see down below, starting with ESSER 2 down to the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant for paraprofessional staff, or Resource 7426, have a combined balance of $75,034,953. So the ESSER funds, the largest pot there, the ESSER 3 funds, you can see are identified, and they have a use date the end of September of 2024. So we still have about a year and a quarter to expend those funds. So some of the funds that are rolling over were not reflected in the this slide. This slide was through the end of April. But we will spend every penny of that. If we take a look at our reconciliation of interfund transfers, moving on to slide 43, you can see that each time this year, as you know, I share this information with you regarding temporary loans. You may recall from the OE6 presentation that was sent and provided to you in April. Policy 13 specifically states that we may not permanently transfer money from one fund to another within the general fund or out of the general fund. We repaid the loan to the general fund from Fund 12, again, back in April. So that wraps up that part. And then I leave you with this recommendation. And again, like with the LCAP, there will be a public hearing for the general fund and all the funds listed in the SACS document. And that actually starts tonight, and there's a 2-week window at the next board meeting. I will be asking you to approve the budget with a positive certification. And again, that will be at the June 27th board meeting. So with that, any questions that I can help answer for you before we move on?
Well, with that doom and gloom opening there, the budget looks pretty healthy to me. So thank you, Dr. Murray.
Thank you for your
Pleasure.
final presentation being doom and gloom. There we go.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't. No, that's not true. Not true at all. And again, Mr. Simmons, I'm sure will do a great job.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Brian.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item 10, a public hearing.
Are you sure?
The board now opens the public hearing on the Local Control and Accountability Plan for PSUSD. Have any comments been received by the district as to the Local Control and Accountability Plan? Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide oral comments on the Local Control and Accountability Plan for PSUSD? Seeing no oral comments, I'll declare this public hearing closed. 10B is a public hearing for the Local Control and Accountability Plan LCAP for Cielo Vista Charter School. The board now opens the public hearing on the Local Control and Accountability Plan for Cielo Vista Charter School. Have any comments been received by the district as to the Local Control and Accountability Plan?
No writing comments have been received.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide oral comments as to the Local Control and Accountability Plan for Cielo Vista Charter? Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed. And 10C is a public hearing regarding the Palm Springs Unified School District reserve levels for the 2023-2024 budget adoption. The board now opens the public hearing for the PSUSD reserve levels for the 2023-2024 budget adoption as required by Ed Code Section 42127. Have any comments been received by the district as to the PSUSD 2023-2024 reserve levels?
No writing comments have been received.
Thank you. Is there anybody present who wishes to provide oral comments as to the PSUSD 2023-2024 reserve levels? Seeing no oral comments, I declare this public hearing closed. 10D is a public hearing regarding the Palm Springs Unified School District 23-24 budget adoption and the 2022-23 estimated actuals. The board now opens the public hearing on the PSUSD 2023-2024 budget adoption and the 2022-2023 estimated actuals as required by Ed Code 42127. Have any comments been received as to by the district as to the PSUSD 2022-2024 budget and the 2022-2023 estimated actuals?
No writing comment have been received at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to provide oral comments as to the PSUSD 2023-2024 budget and the 2022-2023 estimated actuals? Seeing no oral comments, I declare this public hearing closed. You can see everybody was very excited about that. All right, item 11 is public comments. Clerk Esperacueta, have we received any email comments?
President Girardi, we have not received any electronic comments.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address the Board of Education? I don't have any speaker cards. All right, seeing none, we'll continue to board member comments. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to share this evening?
You want to go first? You want me to go first? Okay, I'll go ahead. Just want to briefly just say I was able to go to the SMART mentorship program end-of-year celebration, the graduating seniors. We already kind of talked about it tonight. All of them are going to college, which is fabulous. They were also, not only were they honored, their parents were honored, and their mentors, and all the SMART program graduates received an iPad and $500. So that was wonderful. Went on a tour with my other board members to Sunnylands, and we were given information at the time on Sunnyland and some of the programs that they offer. And it's really kind of a rich local history opportunity that we have to give our students. There was a lot of different things that happened there, and a lot of world leaders that actually came and visited in our area. Also, I got to attend the Foundation's End of the Year Appreciation event. The donors were honored, and our MTU students' performances, they were fabulous. It was really wonderful. And then attending our high school graduation. Each one is different. Each one's inspiring. The student speeches were fabulous, and really want to wish all of our graduates success in whatever the future brings to them. So it was great to see so many of them. They were excited. They were happy. Their parents were happy. The staff was happy. They were really wonderful. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, so I as well attended the graduations, one of from May 30th until seems like forever. So one of the first ones I remember is the Mount San Jacinto, which was the first actual graduation I'm ever attending. So it's something that I had a great memory of. There was over 200 students in our continuation program. So they graduated from high school, so that's something to know. Also, Desert Hot Springs had, I believe, the most students, and Desert Hot Springs as well, I think, had about a 98% graduation ratio, which was kind of exciting. Cathedral City had by far the best weather, so it was the best weather at the Cathedral City graduation. And I want to thank Palm Springs High School for giving us a meal to eat before our graduation ceremony. So on a more serious note, I have talked to quite a few parents that are in middle school as well as elementary. I would love to encourage our principals at these schools to have a little bit more of a robust program. Our students as well as our parents are having a tough time with not being able to watch their students go across the stage. I know that there are some schools that had a graduation, but the response was overwhelming of the schools who did not have a graduation. And it was kind of sad because the students as well were pretty sad about not having a graduation ceremony. And once again, last meeting I talked about the Juneteenth event that's going to be happening at JOJ Desert Highland Center, which is going to be this Friday. They'll have face painting. They'll have other games for the kids in honor of Juneteenth. So that's an event that I would encourage everyone to get out and go and get involved. And that's all I have for my comments.
Thank you.
I want to make a few comments. Also, I'm attending to all high school graduation. This time of the year made a lot of students and parents excited, but at the same time a little bit nervous because this is the transition that many students have to do from kindergarten to first grade, from fifth grade to middle school, or eighth grade to the high school. It's a one transition for many students, but the more excited that I feel in part is the high school graduated, because that is the beginning in his life as an adult. And the great achievement was possible thanks to the collective work everyone, the foundation, teacher, administrator, nutrition service, maintenance, parent, family members, to mention a few. I want to congratulate everyone and get ready for the next school cycle. Also, between the graduation, I attended in June 1st the ECE Family Carnival Night. Was a great event. And also in June 5th, I attended the Equity Subcommittee meeting, quarterly meeting with Charlie. And in June 11, I attended the Cathedral City and Cathedral City Pool Open House. That was the agreement that was done by the Desert Recreational District, Cathedral City, and the school district. That was a great event. They asked me to dress from the 20s, but I don't find anything. Only the mayor, Rita Lambs, and Nancy Ross was able to find something. That was long dress. This was a pajama, something like that, from the 20s. And that was a great event, so that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. Really, I don't want to echo what you guys have just said. I want to just congratulate everybody on a fairly successful year. I know it was pretty tough when we started out, but you got through it. Next year is just going to be much better, so I hope everybody gets some time to take a deep breath, relax a little bit, recharge your battery, spend some time with your loved ones and your friends, and have a great summer. So with that, I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Great. Thank you, President Girardi.
Can I say one more thing before? You missed, we actually missed that we did the street naming. So I just wanted to say congratulations to those students who got their name up on the street, and I just wanted to tell you.
Well, I'm also not going to repeat, just to re-emphasize all the same things that you said. It's such an exciting time of the year. There's over 3,000 employees in the school district, and no matter what your job is, you really are here to help get those high school seniors across that stage. So nutrition services, maintenance and operations, grounds, everybody, our nursing staff, our classified staff, our teachers, administrators, board members, all of us are here to get the students to graduate. And as was said earlier, over 1,500 students graduated in a period of 6 or 7 days, and it was a joy to get to participate in that with the board members. And just to echo President Girardi's comments, it's now summer. It doesn't mean we stop. I know we're getting ready for some exciting extended year and extended learning opportunities for students, but I want to encourage everybody to take a break, reflect on what a successful year this has been. It's been challenging, but also very successful, and get rested up for next year. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, President Girardi.
Thank you, Dr. Sweezy. That brings us to item 14, board action items. 14A is approval of certificated and classified employee transactions, OE 4.4. Lasagna Pitts is going to introduce our new appointments.
I'd like to invite Dr. Christopher Smith to join me at the podium. We're pleased to recommend Dr. Christopher Smith for the assistant principal position at Julius Corsini Elementary School. Dr. Smith earned his bachelor's degree from Graceland University, his master's degree from Northwest Missouri State, and his doctorate from Lindenwood University. His teaching career began in 1999. He has since served as a lead teacher, summer school principal, and literacy coach. He joined our district in 2016 as a teacher for Vista Del Monte Elementary School, and a year later he became the ELA TOSA at the district level, before joining the Kauai Elementary staff in 2019 as their assigned TOSA. Dr. Ryan Saunders, principal of Kauai, strongly supports Dr. Smith, and he states, Dr. Smith demonstrates the leadership competencies that we seek in leaders within our district. And we too believe that Dr. Smith's skills and experience will make him an excellent candidate, or excellent addition, I'm sorry, no longer a candidate, an excellent addition to the Julius Corsini administrative team. I want to congratulate you on behalf of the board and the superintendent and invite you to share a couple comments.
Well, I would just like to thank the board and the cabinet for giving me the opportunity to serve. I would like to thank Dr. Saunders, though he can't be here tonight, for his training. Principal Gomez for welcoming me to her campus, and then of course my husband Michael for supporting me and my mom and dad watching back home. Hi, Mom.
And you successfully made it through the triple threat gauntlet of a foundation report, an LCAP report, and a budget report. So very, very well done.
We're impressed. Can I get a motion to approve item 14A, please?
Move for approval.
How about a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Congratulations. Item 14B, approval of authorized signatures. Can I get a motion to approve authorized 14B?
I move for approval.
Thank you, Sergio. How about a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. 14C is approval of certification of authorized signatures. Could we get a motion to approve 14C, please?
Move for approval.
How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. 14D was pulled. 14E, approval of new middle school course descriptions for the 2023-2024 school year. OE 10, may we get a motion to approve 14E?
Move for approval.
How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. 14F was pulled. 14G, approval of revisions to board policy BP 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures, OE 10. May we get a motion to approve 14G?
I move for approval.
How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. 14H, approval of revisions to board policy BP 5145.3, non-discrimination harassment, OE 11. May we get a motion to approve 14H, please?
I move for approval.
Thank you. How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. 14I, approval to award bid number 07-23, musical instruments and supplies, OE 63. May I get a motion for 14I?
Move for approval.
How about a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
It's only like the question or comments. And I'm saying Dr. Pfeffer is familiar with this item about to buy or to the bid for new instruments. That is, I see the list is impressive. Technically, is to replace the whole instruments in the school district or to add more?
Yes. Actually, this is a result of using CARES money or COVID money, so students don't have to share instruments, and that's just one less way for students to contract an illness from another student. So this is what we're using these monies for, is to prevent that. And because it's a large amount, we have music programs at all of our traditional middle and high schools. It's a large enough amount that we took it to bid.
Thank you.
So they're additional instruments. Yeah.
It's a good use of money.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you. 14J, adoption of resolution number 2022-2023-55, approval to provide a temporary loan to the general fund from capital funds for the fiscal year 2023/2024 OE5. May we get a motion for this item?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. 14K, adoption of resolution number 2022/2023-56, approval to provide a temporary loan to the Child Development Fund from the General Fund OE5. May we get a motion to approve that?
I move for approval.
Thank you. How about a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Let's see, items 14L through 14N, approval of expulsion case 2022/2023-64, 2022/2023-68, and 2022/2023-69, recommendation and findings of fact and conclusion of law, OE11. May we get a motion to approve items 14L through 14N?
Move for approval.
We have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item 15A through 15F are the superintendent's consent item, where we would vote in one motion unless you need something pulled. Okay, can we get a motion to approve superintendent consent items 15A through 15F?
Move for approval.
Thank you. How about a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Item 16A is approval of meeting minutes for May 23rd, 2023. Member Irvin, did you have a correction to that?
Yeah, I just want, the date has January, I think, 12th or something on there for the date of the event, and can you change it to June 17th? Friday. Yes.
That it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve item 16A?
I move for approval.
How about a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 17A is information item, early Head Start and Head Start reports per requirements for the Head Start Act for April 2023. The board has received and reviewed this information. Item 18 is suggestion for future agendas. Any suggestions? One thing we talked about was this Brown Act training that was in the last FIDA report. There's interest. I think there's more interest if we could have a group Brown Act training.
Okay.
As a whole.
All together.
So we can
Yep.
listen to it together, and then they can hear our questions and our comments and things like that. And I think we could get more of a consensus understanding.
Yep, we can do that.
Yeah. Is that okay with everybody?
Mhm.
Okay. Item 19 is setting the next board meeting. The next regular board meeting will be June 27th, 2023 at 6 p.m. And we have a special meeting June 22nd and June 23rd. Item 20 is to debrief. You guys have anything you want to debrief on? Item 21 is adjournment. May I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Okay, second.
Move and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Good job, Brian.